Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday, and welcome back to Coffee with Kem and Hills.
Yep.
Yes, we love Wednesday.
We do.
Why? Because it's Healthy, Wealthy Wednesday, where we get to focus on our financial wellness. But we get to that later.
Yes. So actually our first topic is really about financial wellness.
It is.
And kind of one of the topics that we had talked about at the end of April.
That's right.
So we can just dive right in.
Yeah, let's dive right in. All right. So the article is the best books to read to get smarter about your money, according to a personal finance expert. This is CNBC. Okay, get your paper and pens out.
Right.
Or I guess your notes in your smartphone.
Let's be honest with ourselves.
Paper and pens.
Your Evernote or your notepad. Yeah.
Yes, and write down these essential books to read to become the investor you always dreamed of being. Okay, so the first one is Broke Millennial. This book illustrates how to evaluate your own understanding and relationship with money.
Yeah, so I think the way that they broke this out, the list is like in 3 different chunks. And the first one is about your relationships and money. So this one really gets to the heart of talking about money and your relationship with money with your partner.
Yeah.
And so like really, as they say, getting naked with your financials.
There you go.
So breaking it down.
Financial transparency. We talk about this all the time. I think we actually referenced a whole article about this, right?
Yeah. Yep.
At one point on the show, yeah.
So the next one on the list when you're talking about your relationships and money is called The Big Payoff. This one is by Sharon Epperson. And this one really talks about how to realize your financial goals with your partner.
Yeah.
Which I think is something that we, again, talk about quite frequently here on ROI TV.
That's right.
But really how to not only set those financial goals with your partner, but then also how do you get there? Like how do you keep each other accountable? How do you actualize those goals?
And this will prevent people from committing financial infidelity.
Exactly.
It's a real thing, folks. So these are good books to bring you closer and make you more transparent about your finances with your partner, which, for a long time there was a lot of stigma surrounding that, just talking openly about finances. But hey, you're sharing a household. Come on. It's time to get with the times.
Exactly.
These books are going to help you.
And then the next set of books really are about your mindset with money. So your own relationship with money.
Yes.
The first
title.
Right. The first one is The Psychology of Money.
Yes, The Psychology of Money. And it shares 19 brief stories exploring the unique ways people think about their money and how they behave with it. I think I could get into that. I like the psychology. Yeah. I kind of am like, And I do think that there's we are psychologically driven by money. I think it really affects our psyche in a lot of ways, and how we were raised, how finances were presented to us as kids. There's some financial traumas that sometimes people need to, confront at a certain point in their life and address. And I think this would be interesting. I feel like this is a book I could pick up and kind of get into.
I think so too. I agree. I think that it would be a really interesting read.
Yeah. And then so apparently I don't know I'm not like an investing geek, you know what I mean? Who knows who these people are. But apparently, it doesn't mean you're a geek. But I guess some people really nerd out over these super successful investors, right? And these names are very well known. I have not heard of them, and that is that's bad on me because I'm just not up with the times. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So, Benjamin Graham, Charlie Munger, and Warren Buffett are some of the most successful investors ever. And their annual letter to Berkshire Hathaway shareholders has become a mandatory reading for many investors. And these letters you can read for free online, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think it's so. Benjamin Graham is kind of the guy known for value investing. So looking at a company and investing in it before it's hit a valuation price. So you're getting in on the bottom floor and you're apt to make money.
Had you heard of him before?
I hadn't heard of Benjamin Graham, but I definitely know who Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger are.
Yeah.
They're the ones who run Berkshire Hathaway, which is like very like, I don't know. It's
big.
Like, they're like gods, in my opinion. I mean, not in my opinion. I feel like people revere them like gods in the investing world because they've had such a great track record.
Okay.
Warren Buffett is not a young spring chicken anymore.
Right, he's been around.
He's been around.
He knows what he's talking
in his
about.
late 80s or something like that.
Okay.
But just his track record year over year, and his whole mindset is value investing.
Wow. Okay.
And so, finding the deals instead of buying high and selling low, which nobody wants to when they're investing anyway, but, buying into a company, especially one that you believe in and it has more value than what the stock market is showing currently, will intrinsically and should gain value and therefore you money over time.
So these are the concepts that they've come up with
that
now are,
this is what people do for jobs. Like that's what they're doing. And I think it's interesting. I didn't know that they write annual letters to the shareholders.
Right. That's very nice of them.
And it sounds like they're pretty interesting reads if you are an investing nerd or just interested in investing, because they're pretty...
When I say nerds are cool. Like you can nerd out over anything, right?
True.
Like I do musical theater for a living, right? So I could be the biggest nerd here.
Right. I nerd out over skincare. So like, yeah, exactly. I get it. But it's really interesting that they're pretty... just kind of an open book about some of the wins and losses that they've had over the past year. I just think that that's a really fresh way of having a conversation with the investors, because a lot of companies just say, oh, look at all the great stuff we did. We're not going to tell you about all the money we lost down here.
Which
but
are the things that you often learn most from.
Exactly.
So that's great that they're being so transparent to sort
Totally.
of say, hey, we screwed up here, or we did this and this happened.
Right.
No wonder it's so popular and everyone's into it.
I'm sure. So it sounds like a very interesting thing.
If you do it,
I'll give one a whirl and see how it goes.
Let's be real. I probably am not going to do it now in this season of my life, but I hope for myself that I will want to at some point.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. I like that. At least you're open to the possibility.
I am open to the possibility, absolutely. What other books do we have here?
Just 2 more books on the list.
The Dondo Investor.
By Mohnish Pabrai.
Pabrai, yeah.
Pabrai.
Huh.
I think it sounds really interesting. It's about the Patel family who are from India, and through value investing, now own 40% of the hotels in the U.S.
Yeah, the motels in the U.S. I thought this sounded really interesting as well. Motel Holiday Inn. But so the guy who wrote this book, and Guy Spear, they bid $650,000 on a chance to dine with Warren Buffett. They won, and apparently it was a bargain because last year's winner paid over $4 million.
Yeah,
just to dine, and then they wrote a book about the experience, right?
Yeah, he wrote a book about that and his experience of becoming a value investor. That's the last book on the list, called The Education of the Value Investor.
That's right. I mean, I'd love to be a fly on the wall of what happens during that dinner that they paid this much money for. Like, what is happening? Are they casting spells on the,
How long does that dinner last for it to be like...
For you to gain that much
get
insight.
ROI for spending $650,000.
Right.
I don't know.
Or
$4 million. I mean, if it's a 2-hour dinner, say, that's $2 million an hour.
I mean, I guess if you have the money to spend, but geez.
Right.
That's an expensive dinner.
Right.
I will say.
You could just read their papers to the investors instead and maybe gain some insight there.
That's true. Free. And then you could read this book about his experience,
Exactly.
At his dinner. Okay, well, I hope you jot down all of those books, and maybe you'll pick up a couple and, expand your knowledge on a couple topics.
Your financial wellness and your financial literacy. I think the nice thing about these books is that there's a broad range, so you can figure out how it is most exciting to you, and maybe
or how it might help
more.
you best in your life right now with what you are, experiencing and going through, what's important to you and where you're at on your financial journey. Okay, well, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but we will be right back with some more hot topics. Welcome back, everyone. All right, we have some more hot topics for you. So, pot taxes surpass those from alcohol in legalization states. The Hill. This is from The Hill. So most states that have legalized marijuana for recreational consumption are making more for pot sales than from alcohol sales. I found that kind of surprising. I didn't know it would be that popular that quickly. I guess I'm not that surprised. One of the things that they tried to kind of break down in the article, but didn't, in my opinion, do a great job of doing apples to apples. Did you hear that, The Hill?
Is what were the tax revenue was higher for pot sales versus alcohol sales.
Yeah.
But are the two sales equal, or is pot being taxed at a much higher rate?
Yes.
They tried to break it down. They did tell you that in Colorado, it's 15% flat tax basically on pot or marijuana products, but $2.82 per gallon of distilled spirits, which I was like,
what is the conversion?
Yeah, what's the conversion there? So it would have been nice to have they had this many sales of pot versus
to know really
many,
why it's exceeding the tax of I mean, we may never know.
But I think it is really interesting. So there's 11 states that have legalized marijuana. And last year they brought in over $3 billion in tax revenue versus $2.5 billion in alcohol revenue. So there certainly is something to legalizing marijuana in every state.
Well, I feel
just to make money off of it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for the states that have been hesitant to do this, now that they're seeing the numbers, it might be just the right kind of incentive to push them over the edge and say, okay.
I mean, that people are using it in your state regardless of whether or not it is actually legal, so you might as well
make some money off
of it. But
I thought it was interesting that tobacco tax is still higher than the marijuana and the alcohol. So I kind of, maybe I'm living in a bubble or something, but I sort of thought that was on its way out for a while now.
I think tax rate is higher.
On tobacco?
Yeah, on tobacco.
Oh, that's what's getting okay.
Yeah, because I agree with you. I don't feel like yes, there are obviously
I just wouldn't think
smokers,
that they'd be
but it's
raking
not
in more money, even if the tax rate is higher. I just you don't see a ton of smokers around anymore. At least I don't.
Thank goodness.
I know. I mean, I remember early doors, when I was first allowed in a bar, there was still some smoking happening, and then that was it was in your hair. It was it really sticks to you.
Yeah,
I remember that. It's been a while, but you just don't see it as much. It's a kind of a one-off thing. You'll be oh, someone's smoking. Huh.
So we were in Florida a couple weeks ago, and we would be at the pool every day. And one of the days we showed up to the pool, and there were 3 different groups of smokers at this small pool. And I was just what? What time? When is it 1983? What's going on?
And now when you're not used to smelling it, it smells extra
dense. Yeah.
They're smoking.
Exactly.
And they're Like 2 blocks down.
Right.
Smell it.
Exactly. So I was trying to convince my daughter that we didn't need to go swimming, and she was like, no, I see the pool. It's right there. And I was like, okay, fine. But
It's like, don't breathe.
exactly.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess they're still making money off of it.
Mm-hmm. They certainly are.
They certainly are. Okay, well, with that being said, we are going to now move on to Healthy, Wealthy Wednesday.
So our Healthy, Wealthy Wednesday tip of today is to plan your goals. Use the SMART method for planning your financial goals.
Okay.
So if you haven't heard of the SMART method, it is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. So using those metrics to set a goal that you can measure, which is typically easy with a financial goal, right? Like we use SMART goal setting, at work for, our development. But I feel like for a financial goal, this is super relevant because
to bring it home and
it brings it home.
Yeah.
It can be time bound. So you can say, I want to save $6,000 this year to be used for a vacation to Florida.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever. And
where they're smoking by the pool.
But making sure that that's an achievable thing. Can you set aside $500 a month to get to that $6,000? Or is it really, you can set aside $250? So maybe you're looking at a $3,000 vacation instead of $6,000. I don't know. Make sure it's relevant, something that you're actually going to move towards.
Right.
And then also make sure that there is a time frame on it, because then it gives you incentive to keep going.
Right, and you can kind of budget then, right? How much you will need now to get to your goal.
Exactly.
So get out your paper and pens.
Set that SMART goal.
It's all about your paper and pens today. Write down the books. Write down your SMART goal. Come on.
Exactly. So that's your Healthy, Wealthy Wednesday tip.
It's like we have our own little class today. It's like, welcome to the classroom. I like that. I think that's, it's structure, and I like that kind of just very clear structure when it comes to finances, because as we know, finances can feel really overwhelming. We don't know where to start. So having sort of something structured like that, where you can just really write it down, and answer those questions for yourself and create a game plan, I think is always the best plan of action when it comes to finances.
And I think, we talked to Brennan, the budget dog, last week, and this kind of builds on what he's talking about too, when you're tracking your money and setting those financial goals within your budget. So setting aside those monies into sunken funds, which could be considered your financial goals.
Right.
Or maybe it's, paying off debt, whatever the case may be, but having that, a SMART goal really helps you define it and achieve it.
Yeah, having a clear goal, whatever your goal is, and it can be whatever you want it to be.
Exactly.
Like if it's a vacation, go for it. It's your life. All right, everyone, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but we'll be right back, and I'm going to remind you about all the shows airing today on ROI TV. Welcome back, everyone. Just wanted to give you a reminder not to miss today's episodes of Estate Planning 101, The Business of, Blockchain Interviews, and our newest show, Root Financial. You're going to have to check that out. Come on. You have to support the new guy. I'm just kidding. Anyway, you can check all these shows out, of course, on ROI TV. And where can you see them?
On Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, or our apps for your phone, whether you have an Android or an Apple.
That's right. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Coffee with Kem and Hills. We will see you tomorrow with another big old cup of coffee.